Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and back in the day, Halo 3 probably has the title of the most hyped game that I've ever seen. Back in 2008, I'll tell you right now, even if you had an Xbox 360 or you didn't, everyone instantly recognized what this character was. Everyone knew Master Chief. Everyone walked by a GameStop that had a Halo 3 mural next to it. There are people to this day that are still walking by GameStops with actual Master Chief murals next to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Halo 3 might be one of the most loved games, one of the most hyped games ever made. And I would say that even games like GTA 4, GTA 5, dare I say Red Dead Redemption 2, don't even come close to it. But what if Grand Theft Auto 6, I would say, is the only other game that I've seen that has reached this much hype? It's actually insane. Now, of course, to give you an idea, I'm not somebody that thinks you should hype a video game because there is always a chance. Always a chance GTA 6 could be a pile of hot ass. I used to think, Cyberpunk 2077, ain't no way that game's gonna end up bad. And then it dropped. And then I was eating crow for like 3 years until it actually ended up getting good. So there's always a chance. Never hype yourself up to something with the nth degree and then set yourself up for all of your expectations to be destroyed. I'm one of those people where I expect very little, just so when the actual product comes out, I always get a good thing going. But as excited as I am for games like Grand Theft Auto 6, there's an elephant in the room that we have to address. There's a lot of people in this gaming industry, not the gamers necessarily, but the executives at the top that would love this game to be at $100. So I saw that apparently Chris Stockman, the design director for the first Saints Row game, he basically said, I don't think it's a rising tide that floats all boats. I think there will be tremendous amounts of backlash if everyone switched to $100. Not all games are created equal. I think GTA is the only game that can get away with it. And I hope they do. I really hope it's $100. I think it deserves to be $100. Now, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, I was kind of with this quotation for the first half. But the second half where it gets a little bit into, I hope they do. I really hope it's $100. It's pretty telling of what the industry kind of wants. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are, somebody like EA Games, somebody like Ubisoft, somebody like current day Microsoft, I'm pretty sure you're jerking your fucking dongs off after snorting your fucking line of coke if you're an executive of this company, because generally those are the only people that are, I guess, safe from fucking layoffs these days. Those are the people that are excited as all hell for a game like Grand Theft Auto 6 to be priced at $100 just so they can price all of their other games at $100 as well. Now, I think games are already pretty fucking expensive, but to give you guys an idea of how expensive it would be for Canadians, just for instance, right? $100 is equivalent to 140 Canadian dollars as of right now, okay? Economy is pretty rough these days, but if you add in sales tax, like where I live in the province of Ontario, if you add in a sales tax to it, the 8, 5, and 13%, you're looking at $158 motherfucking dollars for a brand new game. Now, I was reading somewhere that apparently, I think it's somewhere like the average gamer buys 2 games every year, and then that's about it. And this is, by the way, one of the most impressive years for gaming. Let's not even pretend. I'm wondering, if you're a game developer or a publisher, you're probably so happy GTA 6 got delayed to 2026, because this year alone we had games like Expedition 33, we had games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I literally just played some rounds of Arc Raiders, and I'm not even an extraction shooter guy, but I'm almost itching to purchase that game because I actually thought it was pretty good. Bottom line is 2025 is actually a fucking gangbuster year for video games. Anybody that tells you, video gaming is totally dead and dusted has not really played some of the games released this year. And it's not even just games that are remakes or remasters or anything. No, these are actual 2025 games that are pretty fucking good in terms of quality. So, GTA 6 releasing next year is probably a big benefit for some gamers this year because at least these companies aren't fighting for that fucking Game of the Year spot with a contender like GTA 6. Of course, 2026 is going to be a little bit different. I'm even somebody that thinks GTA 6 is probably going to get delayed one more time to September to be completely honest with you. Like, I'm already mentally prepared. Like, to be real with you, I don't think this game is going to drop May. There's like a 50-50 chance, in my opinion. I think it might be even like September, maybe even October, maybe even November, okay? Because honestly, I've mentally prepared myself so that if a delay happens, I'm not going to be so shocked. Literally, when the delay happened this year, I wasn't even that shocked because I already mentally prepped myself. Imagine a Grand Theft Auto game. Imagine a Rockstar game getting delayed, right? It's like when Red Dead 2 was coming out, when GTA 4 was coming out, when 5 was coming out, hell, I think most Rockstar games usually get a delay or two. So you gotta just mentally prep yourself for this kind of shit, and then you'll never be disappointed, okay? Simple as that. Now, obviously, some analysts have come by. I always love analysts. They have always come and said, our research suggests that GTA 6 will generate more revenue at a standard $70 price point than the much discussed $100. Man, you really need a fucking analyst to tell you that. You really need a motherfucking analyst to tell you that a game is going to make more money if they price it at a lower price so more people can jump in. Bro, I swear to God, it might be the easiest industry to come in and start fucking consulting for. God damn, no shit. If GTA 6 was priced at $20, more people would be rushing in to fucking buy it. If Grand Theft Auto Online 2 was free to play, it would have like 10 times the player base that it's going to actually have. But yeah, honestly, it is just goofy to kind of see the industry, and not really the gamers, but the bean counters, the business-minded people, the executives, who are really looking for every industry franchise to crack $1 billion while actively putting less money into gaming, okay? I was literally reading the amount of artificial intelligence that I guess EA is reported to be looking into to flood into their video games. Apparently something about the next Halo is going to have a lot of generative AI thrown into it. And again, Halo is one of those franchises where it's crazy to see how influential it was, how it created the most hyped video game in probably gaming history, all the way to its incredible drop-off because literally they just cannot find a developer to give a single shit about making a good Halo game, or actually just a complete Halo game in general. Now, $60 for a game, really for me is, at the end of the day, it is what it is. A game's going up in price is not something that I don't expect. When games went from $60 to $70, okay, but now when we're thinking of $70 to $80 and $70 to $100 now within the same gaming generation, that's a leap far more than I ever thought. And the thing about it is with gaming, look, I will always say back in 2008, 2009, 2010, I really feel like a lot of games that came out during that PS3 360 generation were actually completed games. Games that came with a full campaign. Sometimes they would stuff a multiplayer in there that wasn't even in cases an afterthought, and sometimes they would have a third mode. But overall, the game would be a completed title. Now it really feels like any game that comes out is a game that has the bones of a PS3 and at best a PS4 era title. But generally, when you purchase a video game, you're always buying something that usually is a first impression of a video game, and then they want to add in the DLCs. And it's even worse when you buy a live service era video game for $60, that the moment you put in and fire up in your system, immediately they're assaulting you with the store options, the battle passes. It's the amount of monetization in video games has basically quadrupled in literally one generation. We went from horse armor in Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and then we went to bacon camouflage in Black Ops 2 to the most monetized fucking storefronts. You will not find a live service game, paid or free, that isn't filled with at least 2 or 3 other currencies, battle passes, and subscription services on top of it. It almost feels like these guys want you to pay the $60 and then also pay $60 a year through multiple different financial sources just for these games to crack an insane amount of earnings that really isn't normal at the end of the day. All at the same time, crapping and shuttering down studios and getting rid of the people making these games at the same time. If anybody talks about a gaming crash, it literally is just that. And the gaming crash, I think, is usually just relegated to those quadruple A, triple A gaming services. Because even with that all said, and this tangent aside, there's still so much indie stuff that's out there that is worth the cost of admission, and a substantially lower cost of admission too. GTA 6 is not a game that I would feel comfortable paying $100 for, on where I live, $150 Canadian for. But, and I don't think Rockstar is really going to do that. But that being said, ultimately speaking, I don't think any game is really worth the 100 USD mark at this moment in time. The only reason GTA 6 is kind of hyped up by these guys is because Rockstar has put in a metric shit ton of effort to make this game look the way that it is. You know, the other day I was looking at people just sharing information around, like looking at the watch of like one of the main characters, like Jason, and it showing like a time period. People were assuming this is when trailer 3 drops. I'm almost thinking Rockstar is so goddamn autistic with their game details that this might actually be reflecting the current time in the game itself, and it actually changes on the watch model. Even though you'll never see it, it just does that. This is a game where like people are looking at these stripper poles in Leonida, in Vice City, and looking at fingerprints all over the goddamn stripper pole. Now, this is just a texture, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think that a fingerprint is going to reflect individually and dynamically on the stripper pole. If it does, holy shit, do I need to actually go to the strip club in Grand Theft Auto for the first time just to gawk at the amazing details. But when you're talking about a game that has these sweat beads on the asshole of a goddamn stripper rendered properly, when you have a game that is rendering light, texture work, everything at such an amazing rate, to a point where everything they've shown is apparently real-time graphics running at like what I assume to be 30 frames per second, is actually insane. You know, if you look at the pedigree of GTA, for instance, right, Grand Theft Auto really started from a franchise where ultimately it started off as a bug. You know, game testers were playing Grand Theft Auto 1, which was supposed to be a racing game. Turns out cops were just chasing the player, and they were like, hold on, this is a great idea. Let's make Grand Theft Auto. And then, of course, Grand Theft Auto 2 drops, which is more of the first game. And then, you know, normally they could have just kept making more top-down stuff. But I really think back in the day, and you have to understand why Grand Theft Auto is as impactful as it is, GTA 3, the next mainline entry, went not only 3D, but had like a day-night cycle, had like a full immersive storyline. For the time, obviously, a massive open world. For the time, obviously. It really was one of those games where like your buddies would come over, play on your PlayStation 2. You wouldn't even need to do a mission. You just handed the controller off with the boys while fighting law enforcement for maximum 10 minutes at a time. And then Vice City was more of that, okay? It was an 80s-oriented GTA 3. San Andreas, the first time where they were like, all right, instead of one city, let's make 3 cities. You know, the technical achievements that Rockstar was doing on a system that was the weakest system of its generation was mind-blowing to see. But it really wasn't until, like, I would say GTA 4 that I think Grand Theft Auto became this graphical powerhouse. When they started to switch to the Rage engine, they had one of the best physics systems imaginable, like a physics system that still comes light years beyond what we see today with Euphoria physics. A rendering of Liberty City, supposed to be New York City, that was so close to the actual original for 2008 that, again, it completely decimated any other open world game around that time. And then, of course, GTA 5 drops, which is more of, you know, what made GTA 4 great, a very, very authentic recreation of Los Angeles, again, bundled with a pretty interesting storyline, 3-character system. It was a technical achievement for its time. And, you know, look, there are franchises like Pokemon, for instance, where, again, you know, individuals look at this and think, yeah, it's pretty good. And for most Pokemon fans who buy this shit, I'm sure they think it's great. Maybe mechanically it's awesome. But Rockstar fans, Grand Theft Auto players, I think always expect some crazy generational leap of gaming. You know, everyone always is like wondering, is GTA 6 going to be even good, right? When ultimately Rockstar has kind of proven themselves with like other franchises. Like in the time span, we've had 3 releases of GTA 5. We had Rockstar bringing out Red Dead Redemption 2. Looking at the actual technical prowess, right? It's crazy to think we went from a PS3 era title, which I think still to some extent holds up today, to a PS4 era title that it's easily could probably match with games released right now this year. And then, of course, you've got Grand Theft Auto 6, which is, again, visually one of the most fucking amazing looking games that is yet to come. Now, again, I'm not hyping this up to the nth degree, but yeah, this is where I guess a lot of these executives are like, man, if any game is going to come up with a $100 price tag, it's probably the one that actually has the most effort put into it for this generation. This generation of gaming, in my opinion, has been kind of a wash. I really don't care much for the PS5 generation. I think every generation has been awesome, okay? 1, 2, PS3, and again, I'm dating my consoles by PlayStation because that's where I kind of grew up. but, equate it to whatever, right? Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation 4, pretty decent generation. PlayStation 5, it really just feels like most of the games that I'm playing now could have probably released on the PlayStation 4. Nothing has been so technically impressive that I could see it actually coming out on the PS5 and using these systems for what they are. This seems to be the only game fucking doing it. And it's to a point where, again, I actively follow things like the mapping project where, again, for me, what I'm excited for mostly about this game is not just the graphics, but mostly to explore what could be one of the largest cities, right? One city where, again, I want to experience things like police chases. I want to see how the AI operates. I want to see the amount of technical changes to this game that makes it look generationally apart from its other contemporaries. Every other open world game that I've kind of seen follows a framework that Rockstar has really laid down and allowed people to follow. But it really is them that sets the trend, so to speak, or sets the next evolution in how the rendering and how these games are supposed to function. Remember, GTA is not just a game where I feel that you have to run around and like fucking shoot people and blow up cars and get into cop chases. It really is a very interesting rendition and a simulation of a fucking city and how that city responds to you when you act in the most grotesque ways. That is the shit that I'm most excited to see. If you could just believe me when I say the first thing that I want to see in this game is how law enforcement chases you, okay? I want to see how a high-speed chase works. That's where I get down to. But yeah, $100 for a video game, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope that Rockstar doesn't normalize this, and I actually don't think that they will make their game $100, to be real with you. I think that whoever is running Take-Two realizes that gamers are very easy to piss off. And even though that I'm sure that at the end of the day, people will still buy a Grand Theft Auto game that is priced at $100, I think hopefully Rockstar will not cave to the industry, cave to a lot of their like fucking, other similar AAA gaming publishers that truly want their slop to be valued at, the game that everyone is, I think, reasonably hyped for because, again, the reason why GTA 6 is a hype building game is because it does look substantially different. It takes me back to GTA 4, where again, when I looked at GTA 4 compared to even Saints Row, compared to any other open world game, it looked very different. Even games like GTA 5 looked like it was setting a trend going forward. But 6, I mean, this is really a magical game, to be honest with you. Like, the amount of hype that I've seen for this is taking me back to the days of Halo 3. And I just hope that hype doesn't enter Rockstar's head to the point where they think, yeah, pricing it at $100 is somehow normal. Because look, this game being $60, you know damn well it's probably going to break sales records for the entire industry within 24 hours of its launch. And let's not forget, as soon as GTA Online 2 drops, the cash cow that will make GTA Online 1 look like fucking nothing in comparison. And again, that's not something I'm super duper hyped for. That always is, I think, one of the key reasons that Rockstar isn't necessarily making single player content anymore. That's also one of the reasons why I think these games take so long to come out. But the other reason for that is obviously, I think, for a game like GTA 6 to drop in the state that it's in, it makes me already wonder what the hell they have to do for GTA 7 for it to make this game look infantile in comparison. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I kind of saw this today, and honestly, I wanted to talk about it because I really feel like the industry wants to normalize a $100 game when most games aren't even worth the $60 or $70 that they currently still are. Ladies and gentlemen, I am out.